Hey, South Hills Church. Today, I have a special occasion for you. I want to just give you a little background of who we are as a church and the decisions that are made at the church, how they are overseen by someone else besides me. At our organization, South Hills Church, we have a board overseeing all of our decisions so that we can remain in line with listening to God's voice, and so that you, as a congregation, know that there is responsibility and accountability, not only on the senior pastor, but on the campus pastors as well. So today, I'm going to be introducing to you who our South Hills board is and their heart behind serving God and serving the local church. So guys, we're going to take a moment right now, and I want you guys to introduce yourself to our church. Let them know who you are, give them your name, the campus you attend to, and I also want you to take a moment and answer the question of why you serve on our board and even at the local campus. For those of you who don't know, Chris and his wife Laura are the founding pastors of South Hills Church, and today we are the church who we are because of the heart of the founding pastors. So Chris, say hello to your church that you started 25 years ago, but also introduce yourself to those who don't know who you are.
Yeah, my name is Chris Ellingson, and as Moses was talking about, we are the founding pastors of South Hills Church. Started in March 29th, 1998, and about a year and a half ago, felt like God was calling us to a different season, and no doubt in my mind that Moses was the guy to take it over. So right now, I'm helping to expand South Hills in other states, but also serving on the board.
My name is Tom Fredrickson, and I attend South Hills Corona campus. I wanted to volunteer my time and share the expertise that I learned in churches run as a business, and sometimes it takes business people to help make the decisions to make sure that we're going in the right direction.
I'm Roger Batchelder. I attend the South Hills Manhattan Beach campus. What I'm enjoying about being on the board is just, having visibility into the direction of the church and being able to weigh in, utilizing, my experience of been in church for years and also just my experience in business.
Hi, I'm Blair Minnis. I attend South Hills Costa Mesa, and I enjoy seeing the inner workings of South Hills Church. It gives me an idea of the direction the church is heading. I also get to have some input in the direction the church is heading. And it's very important, like a family. South Hills is my family.
One of the aspects that gives me a lot of fulfillment is the camaraderie that we get with other volunteers and the friendships that we create within that. We are here to support not only the congregation as a whole, but the people that run it. That's the staff, and especially our senior pastor, Moses.
I love serving on the board. It's a new role for me. I've always been on the board, but not in that seat. It has more of a serving role, which I enjoy because it is the way God's designed us. We're designed to serve.
Or really because it's good for us. It's good for us in that we grow closer to the Lord.
There is more joy that is brought by serving, by helping other individuals within the church, by bringing people from outside of the church into the church.
The mission of this church is to bring people to Christ, and that's near and dear to my heart.
Guys, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to coming out and allowing the church to get to know you, to hear your heart. I wanted them to know who our South Hills board is so that they can feel comfort and security knowing that not just the pastors are making decisions of the church, but there is accountability from an aerial view of who we are as a church and that we're going in the right direction. South Hills, I hope you enjoyed today getting to know who our South Hills board is.
We are week 2 of our series, Not Interested, where we've been looking at the top 3 reasons why people reject Christianity. As we mentioned, there could be a lot of reasons of why people reject Christianity. And if you dig deeper, if you make time to talk to those people, you might find in your conversations with them that the reason they're rejecting Christianity might not be a bad reason at all. I remember back in my high school days, I was not good at asking questions. Anybody like me, not good at asking questions? Especially in front of people? That's all right. That's only one. I'm preaching to 2 people today. All right. Only 2 people here. And I was not good at asking questions, especially when I was in high school in front of people. Because I was afraid that they were going to make fun of me. I was afraid that they're going to laugh at me. And one of my high school memories is not that I was part of the high school varsity basketball team. I just thought I'd throw that out there. But no, that's not a memory of mine. But one of my high school memories is that I was the only senior in an algebra class full of 9th graders. Because I was so bad at math. Anybody took algebra before? Yeah? Man, you guys are blessed. I needed you guys back, 20 years ago. And I needed to pass this algebra math class in order to graduate high school. I really needed to pass it. So there you would find me, a senior in a 9th grade algebra class. And in one occasion, the teacher was teaching. She was going out. She was putting equals, reciprocal with a minus, add an XB. I'm all like, what in the world is she saying? So it was halfway through the class, and I did one of these numbers like, I hope she sees me, but I hope she doesn't call on me because I have a question because I don't know what's going on. I raised my hand. I was scared to raise my hand, and then she calls on me Mr. Vaca, because back then they called me by my last name, Vaca, and when they would call me by my last name, the whole class would say it, and it was kind of crazy. And I asked my question, so why is this an equal to this B, and why you have to minus it to get this answer? And when I finished my question, the entire class started laughing at me. And then one guy, little 9th grader, who was blowing his nose, he said, dude, Vaca, I can't believe you don't know the answer to that. I wanted to get up from that room and, do something to him. But I was a Christian. I hated that feeling of wanting to know the answer because I'm a student, because I'm a learner. I did nothing wrong. All I did is ask my question, and the kids started to make fun of me. And I don't know if maybe this has happened to you here in this auditorium or if you are online, but if this has ever happened to you, these moments have a way of imprinting on us. It leaves a mark on us, feeling like we can't even ask a question because of how people will react. Are they going to make fun of me? Are they going to laugh at me? What is going on? But I think there's even a deeper problem here. Let me drink some gasoline here. I think there's a deeper problem because this doesn't only happen in junior high, in high schools, or in any classrooms. It also happens to the unchurched or with the unchurched. It happens when it has to do with faith and Jesus. See, can people who are struggling with algebra or people who are struggling with faith, who don't believe in God, bring their doubts and questions to those who seem to have the deepest faith without being judged, laughed, or ridiculed? Maybe you just came to this realization, but the world is full of diversity. People with different backgrounds, people with different beliefs, experiences. The world is full of people that interpret things differently. And we must consider this tension. Tension must be considered. People will have questions regarding faith, regarding God, regarding Jesus. And if this is the case, as Christians, what are we supposed to do? Are we supposed to punish them? Are we supposed to shame them? Are we supposed to laugh at them? Maybe we've shamed people in our circles who read different books and listen to different podcasts than we do. We've all seen these witch hunts online, right? Where someone shares a thought or an opinion, but immediately a mob of Christians were like, don't watch their movie. Don't listen to that worship song. Don't go to their place of business because they think differently than we do. And as a result is a kind of Christianity that is harsh and doubtful. But here's a hard truth. Jesus never tortured, shamed, or ruined the life of anyone, including those who disagreed with him. See, when you look at the life of Jesus, he seemed to entertain lots of open discussions, different topics with different people. In fact, some of the people that was closest to Jesus asked questions to him that never should have been asked. And I want you to see how Jesus reacts to this. You ready? Oh, wow. I'll give you $10 after service. Are we ready? There you go. If you brought your Bibles, you can open to Matthew chapter 11, verse 2 to 3. If not, we'll share it here on the screen with you. It says this, when John, who was in prison, heard about the deeds of the Messiah, he sent his disciples to ask him, are you the one who is to come, or should we expect someone else? So John, a disciple, a friend of Jesus, he makes the Roman leaders angry, and they label him a threat to the empire, so they put him in jail. And in that dark moment, when John was in jail, he sends his friends, he sends his students, and he says, hey, come here. Can you go, you see that guy, he's Jesus? Can you go ask him if he's like really the Messiah? You see that question that John sent his friends to ask Jesus? Are you really the one? He's been with Jesus. He's ministered along Jesus. Get this, guys. John baptized Jesus. He's seen Jesus preach and do miracles. But when he's facing a dark moment in jail, when he's facing death, he doubts. You know why he doubts? Because he's human. That's what human people do. We doubt. Even the disciples, I want you to follow me here. Even the disciples who followed Jesus asked Jesus these questions. But look at what Jesus replies. In verses 4 through 5, it says, Jesus replied, go back and report to John what you hear and see. The blind receive sight, the lame walk, those who have leprosy are cleansed, the deaf hear, the dead are raised, and the good news is proclaimed to the poor. So Jesus asked John, hey John, you decide for yourself. You decide who I am based on my actions. But I want you to note something very, very important here. God didn't torture John for asking a simple question. Jesus didn't get mad at John. He didn't shame John. He didn't go to the prison guard and say, hey, you see that guy right there? You see John? Let him die in there. Give him another 20 years. Jesus never did this. In fact, Jesus was never annoyed with the kind of question he received, even from his friends, from his disciples. And here's a big point on all of this. Jesus is a safe place to bring our deepest questions, concerns, and doubts. Because if his disciples doubted and asked him a question, you and I could do the same as well. And you know what's so powerful about this? Because if we're supposed to be like Christ and become like Christ, as Christians, we ought to be the safest place for other people to bring their deepest questions, concerns, and doubts. See, the unchurched should feel safe to ask questions if you have any concerns about anything that has to do with church, community, your life, even Jesus. They should be safe around Christians. Think about it. We as Christians, we don't have it all together. Raise your hand if you have it all together in here. There you go. Nobody does. We don't have it all together. We don't have all the answers. We still mess up. We still struggle. We still have questions when it comes to Jesus, even about life. If you have questions, if you struggle, the unchurched will struggle as well. So like the original 12, the 12 disciples, they were disciples for a reason. Everybody say disciples. Disciples means students or learners. In this case, Jesus had 12 disciples. That means that Jesus had 12 students that needed to learn from him. And they were called disciples. You know why? Because they didn't have all the answers. They were called disciples, learners, because they weren't called to be experts. They weren't called to be know-it-all. And everyone in this room, everyone that's watching us through our app or YouTube, everyone is constantly learning the way of Jesus. We are disciples. So maybe you're wondering, so when do I stop learning? When do I get to that spot where I don't need to learn anymore? When do I stop learning this life, Jesus' life? I mean, that's a great question. But Jesus had to call out his disciples and says, hey guys, haven't you learned? Hey guys, haven't you understood? In Mark chapter 7, verse 18, it says this. He said to them, do you not understand yet? This is super powerful. Do you not understand yet? Do you not understand that whatever goes into a man cannot make him sinful? These guys were hanging around with Jesus. These guys were eating with Jesus. They were listening to Jesus. They were watching Jesus. They lived the same culture. They spoke the same language. And get this. These disciples, Jesus' friends, they had their own ideas. They had their own perspectives. They had their own thoughts. They had their own upbringing. And it was kind of getting in the way of what Jesus wanted to show them. So God says, hey, haven't you understood yet? And just like the disciples, this means that you and I might have things that we still don't understand. You and I might have things that we don't understand about God, about Jesus, about life, what's good, what's bad. We might have questions about heaven, about hell, about money, about dinosaurs. We're still learning. We're also going to have questions. And the good news is that you don't need to know it all. You don't need to know it all to be a part of a faith community. You don't need to know it all to have a relationship with Jesus. God will not slam the door on you if you have questions about anything. But sadly, there's people that will slam the door on you. In Matthew 23:13, it says this, woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites. Let's read it out together, this next part. You I'm allowing you guys to speak and preach. Let's do it again. 1, 2, 3. You shut the door of the kingdom of heaven in people's faces. That's hard. You yourselves do not enter, nor will you let those enter who are trying to. So all these religious people, these Pharisees, right? They had an elaborate list of things that you need to believe, of how you need to behave to be accepted by God. They had a huge list. Hey, you want to be accepted by God? You want to be a part of this community of faith? You need to do this. You need to talk like this. You need to eat this, or else you're not good. And then the problem was, guys, that these people had questions. These people had questions. Hey, what do we do? How do we do this? How do we interpret this? Why does this still apply to us now? What about God? And the Pharisees like, wait, I don't want to hear your questions. I don't want to hear your thoughts. Just follow the rules. Just be quiet. Stop asking questions, because God doesn't have room for your doubts. And Jesus' response was, hey, guys, you're wrong. God welcomes questions. God welcomes doubt. God welcomes rest. If you're wrestling with your faith, it's okay. But you can't deny the heaven of kingdom to people because they have questions. What are you doing? See, if I might just get a little bit practical with us, slamming the door of heaven on others looks like saying, hey, you're not a real Christian. You don't belong here because of your hair color. Slamming the door of heaven to others is, hey, you don't believe in the 6-day creation? You can't be a part of us. Slamming the door of heaven to people just because they might not believe that it took, 2 animals of each species went on the ark and then they went on the cruise. We shut the door of the kingdom of heaven because people don't talk like you or dress like you or share the same foods or perspectives. Maybe they're weak in their faith. Maybe because they don't believe what you believe in. You shut the door, the kingdom of heaven, simply because people don't know a Bible verse. I want to share a story that when I became a pastor, I've been wanting to share. And this message, this day, finally, I'm going to let it out. So you guys ready? I was about 15, 18 years old. And as you guys know, I grew up in church. And I never forget that I participated in the church outreach. And it was those old school outreaches, like Pentecostal outreaches, where you stand in the corner with the mic and a microphone, and you go all out. But when somebody is speaking in a corner just preaching Jesus, there's always 2 guys in the back giving out flyers. Have you guys ever seen that? Well, I was the guy giving out the flyers. And I will never forget that my friend was speaking on the corner. It was in East LA and Atlantic. It was super busy. Super busy, a lot of cars, a lot of people passing by. My friend was speaking, and I was giving out the flyers. And then I had another friend with me who was new to faith. He just gave his life to Jesus. Mind you, he came with me. He's all like, Ozzy, what am I supposed to do? I go, bro, just don't say nothing. Just give the flyers out. I'm like, oh, I could do that. And then while my friend was in a big booth just like preaching, I was out giving out the flyers. My friend was doing one of these like kind of shy giving out flyers. And then all of a sudden, I see a guy crossing the street. And he goes up to my friend and he does this. Where in the Bible does it say that you and your friend need to preach? In the corner on this street, on this cloudy day. And my friend was new. He was practically unchurched. He got pale. He got red. He forgot his name. Why are you doing this? You shouldn't be doing this. Are you qualified? He told him, are you qualified to do this? And I was just looking. I was about to get a heart attack. He started questioning. Not only that, guys. He started lecturing my friend who just started his relationship with Jesus. By that time, my friend's face was pale. He couldn't speak. He felt embarrassed because one person felt entitled and just started blowing up on him. That was the last day I saw my friend. A week went by, and I got a text that said, I'm no longer interested in Jesus. The person who came up to him was a pastor. That hurt. We lost one person who got disinterested in Jesus because somebody just wanted to make sure that he knew a Bible verse, started lecturing him, started pulling him down instead of lifting him up and helping him. I still know that pastor's name. And I know where he's at. Could the problem be the church and not Jesus? How we hurt people, how we ridicule people, how we put people to shame? Can it be our fault that the people are migrating and just leaving Christianity? Is the church shutting the door of God's kingdom on people simply because we want to feel like we're authorized to know more and start arguments and shaming people and embarrassing people? Jesus, the only one who literally knew it all, approached others with a humble, relational posture of a learner and not a lecturer. See, Christianity is not about having all the right answers, nor it's not about being authoritative. It's not about shaming people. It's about just humbly living and loving like Jesus. A true Christian makes room for different perspectives, models the way of Jesus, and mindfully wrestles with their faith. So what can you and I do? What can you and I do this morning? Because I'm going to tell you something. A lot of us draw lines in places and make demands of others that Jesus never did. Paul helps us out. In Romans chapter 14, verse 1 says this. Put it up on the screen. Here we go. There you go. It says this. If there is someone whose faith is weak, be kind and receive him. Oh, by the way, do not argue about what he thinks. So Paul was being smart in order to make people interested in Jesus, in order to make the church attractive, in order to save more people. Don't shame those who have weak faith. Don't shame those. Don't argue with those that think different, that have different perspective. He says, be kind to them, love them, and don't argue about anything. See, Paul is drawing this tension that is created between Christians, new Christians, and the unchurched, because everybody has conflicting ideas. And Paul commands those who have stronger faith not to condemn anyone, but to kindly receive them and treat them good. See, I get a sense that Paul is saying this. Hey, don't welcome them with the motive of convincing them. Welcome them with the motive to simply be kind and to love on them. Because God, will do the rest. God, will change their life. This is, as Christians, this is what Paul is guiding us to do. Love on people no matter what their thoughts are. We should not be arguing with anyone. See, what would happen if this morning, instead of repeating the shameful seasons of our church history and how sometimes we treat people, no matter if you're a leader or a pastor or if you belong to a church, what if we leave that and we just focus on aligning our everyday lives with the words and the way Jesus lived? See, according to Jesus, it is possible to love on those who have difficult questions. According to Jesus, it is possible to love on those who have doubts, difficult questions, just like we do. According to Jesus, we can make people interested in him again if we simply remove our pride and we're kind and we love on people and receive them just like they are. According to Jesus, we can thrive as a spiritual community, even though there's different perspectives and thoughts, like in this place. And Jesus is saying, simply love on them. Simply care for them. Your job is not to change anybody. Your job is to show people Jesus' love. This is what Jesus wants from us. Let's bow our heads and let's pray. God, thank you so much. God, you are a perfect God. But sometimes I can't even think how and why you would choose imperfect people to model you. You are a perfect God. And you still have patience and work with us to do better and get our life in order. And at the same time, we're supposed to model you. At the same time, we're supposed to love on you, love like you. We're supposed to receive like you. God, and as a community of faith, as a church, even leaders and as pastors, we've messed up. We've failed by the way we treat people. We failed if people ask us questions that we don't know. God, and because we don't know, we get defensive and we shame people simply because people think different, act different, don't listen to the same podcast, God. We stop talking to them. We don't want anything to do with them. Jesus, when you were on this earth, you hung around with all kinds of people not to become like them. You never changed. In fact, you hung around with them. You accepted their ideas, their thoughts, with the purpose to love on them and to receive them and to change them, because you're Jesus. God, and we ask that as your church, as this faith community, that you help us be bold and do the same thing you did. God, because what we don't want is people getting disinterested in you. God, we want to be a church that thrives in making you interesting and making people fall in love with you in the way we present your word, in the way we bring out the good news of the gospel. God, we want to be the safe haven, a safe place where people could come with us with their doubts or their questions or concerns or perspective. God, would you help us? Would you help us? It is clear to me that Paul had to tell his friends, this church, to treat people different. It is clear that Christians back then were rejecting people. It was clear that back then that people were migrating out of Christianity because of the church. And this is why you said these words, that we're supposed to be kind and receive and help people with weaker faith. God, would you help us? Would you help us? God, and I want to take a moment to pray. Father, I pray right now that your presence not only comes here right now, but your presence is with us the entire week. God, that no matter what is happening in our world, in our mind, in our life, that nothing brings us down. Not even a bad news, not even a bad text or a bad call or something at work, that nothing brings us down, Father. I pray for hope this week. I pray for blessings this week. I remove any negativity, any fear, any doubts in our mind, in our hearts, and I deposit this with your word. I deposit it. I make this exchange of your love, of your grace, of your wisdom in our life this morning and throughout the week. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Why don't we stand on our feet, church, and let's sing this song with the band.